Hey guys, so today I thought I'd bring another video to cover Cyber Dragon rulings as a continuation of my first one. And if you haven't checked my first ruling video, then go watch that. Now, Team Set Pass also already have a ruling video, so I'm going to try my best to cover rulings that aren't mentioned in that video as well as my previous one. And I'll link both of these videos in the description below. I'm also going to mention a few rulings related to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and Red Eyes Fusion. Even though they're not Cyber Dragon cards, it's certainly a card that most of us are probably playing, so I thought it'd be important. And if you want to see more Cyber Dragon content, consider liking the video and subscribing to make my day. Also, I meant to mention this in my last video, but thanks for getting me to 100 subscribers in my first month of YouTubing, guys. I really appreciate your support. Alright, so let's get started. So for the first example, in instances where, let's say, you summoned out Rampage using Nova's effect, because let's say it got Nibiru'd, remember that if this, let's say, gets sent to grave and you summon Nachster, remember that you can't bring this back with Nachster in this instance because Rampage was not summoned properly using Fusion Summon. But if it was Fusion Summoned properly, then you would be able to revive it back with Nachster because it does have 2100 attack. Also, similarly, if you were to send Nova because of Dogmatica Maximus, for example, then, while you can use its effect to bring out a Fusion Machine monster, you wouldn't be able to bring it back with Nachster because, again, this was not summoned properly from the extra deck. And then lastly, another similar situation would be if this Summon of Nova was hit by Solemn Judgment or Solemn Strike, for example, then even though you would be able to bring out Rampage or Mechaba, just again, remember the summon was not successful, so you can't bring it back with Nachster later on in the game. And I know that sounds obvious, but it's just kind of rulings that you just have to be aware of at all times, because sometimes you can forget that later in the game that, for example, this was not summoned properly or that the summon was negated so that you can't bring it back. So just be aware of that. Now the next ruling relates to Cybernetic Overflow. I mean, if we were to cover the basics, as you all know, this card does not banish for cost and it also doesn't target, which makes it very useful. And also, if it gets destroyed, you can add a Cyber Dragon spell trap, including itself. And a cute little interaction that some players do is with MST, because you could, for example, activate Overflow and then chain MST to destroy Overflow, and then you would still pop, cards, and then because MST destroyed the Overflow, you can now add a Cyber Spell Trap to hand. And it doesn't matter whether, whether this is Chainlink 1 or whether this is Chainlink 1, either way, you'll be able to pop your opponent's cards and also pop your own Overflow and get that search. Now this was mentioned in Team Set Pass's video, but just for the sake of completeness, remember that let's say if you were to summon Core, use its effect, and your opponent tries to use Imperm or Veiler, something that targets to and then negate the effect, then you can use Overflow, a set Overflow, to banish it so that the Imperm or Veiler misses target and your Core's effect will still resolve. Although, keep in mind, if it's not something that targets but is rather something like Jackal King that negates and destroys the monster effect, even if you were to get rid of it with Overflow, then Core's effect is still not going to resolve in this example. And then finally, another neat interaction is with Forbidden Droplet. If your opponent were to use this card, and let's say they discard or sends 2 cards as cost, right? And let's say you had an Infinity and the Core, and you summon the Core, and your opponent attempts to use Forbidden Droplet and sends 2 cards for cost and tries to negate both of these monsters' effects. If you were to use Overflow and banish the Core, then for Forbidden Droplet to resolve, I have to control at least the same number of monsters that they sent. So in this instance, if they sent 2, and assuming that they didn't send a trap so that I can still respond with Overflow, now Forbidden Droplet would fizzle and Infinity's effect would not be negated. Now the next thing I want to cover is that Infinity cannot suck up tokens, and where this can kind of come up is when you Nibiru your opponent and you give them an attack position token. And the reason for this is because tokens cannot be used as Xyz material, so Infinity cannot attempt to activate its effect to try to suck it up. And this is a ruling that I found actually a lot of judges got it incorrect, and it wasn't until I had to ask like a head judge at a regional to make sure to clarify this. And a lot of times people will compare this situation to kind of like Relinquished, where they can suck up a token and have it as a equip card, and that's true, but it does not apply for Xyz monsters trying to attach it as material. So just know that you cannot suck up attack position tokens for infinity. The next card I want to cover is Cyber Dragon Seeker. So because its effect is stat modifying, it can be activated in the damage step, which is important because that means you can activate it in the damage step so that it can't be hit by Ghost Ogre. And also if your opponent, let's say, doesn't activate their impermanence in the main phase or battle phase and they let you proceed to the damage step, then they won't be able to imperm you either. Also, even in direct attacks, there is still a damage step, so you can activate Seeker's effect then, which is kind of recommended. And also in an instance where you have no choice but you need to pump himself up, then make sure to do it before you declare an attack with this card, because otherwise you'll miss the opportunity to pump himself up. Just one quick thing about Herz is that even if you are trying to add a Cyber Dragon from grave, it can still be Ash because its effect is you can add a card from deck or grave and it's just all one effect, so it can still be Ash. But do note that because Herz doesn't target, you don't have to tell your opponent what you're trying to add. Now in my last video I quickly mentioned about how if Fortress or Megafleet were to get hit by effect negation like Veiler or Imperm, or if they were to be flipped face down by something like Book of Moon and you flip them face up, they would still be permanently at 0. And just to note, a couple other situations where that comes up is if any of these cards were sent to grave or banished and then they return to the field, they would be at 0 permanently, because cards that go to grave or banish and return, their attack and defense are set to kind of their default, and in this instance it's 0. And another situation I've come across is if it gets hit by Linkuriboh and then gets turned to 0, then it also stays at 0 attack permanently. So now let's cover a bit more on just kind of general restrictions. Because Anaconda, if you use its effect, you can't special summon monsters afterwards. Remember to always, if you are trying to go this route, to make sure to bring out the Seeker before you use Anaconda's effect. That way you can now bring out the Rampage and go for game. But you can still normal summon though, even after using Anaconda's effect. So for example, if you still didn't summon up the core yet, then you could do it if you wanted to and get its search. Also some other restrictions, remember that if you use Nachster and you successfully special summon the machine monster with 2000 attack or defense, then you are locked into machines, so you can't go into like Relinquished Anima, or you can't go into Verde Anaconda, for example. And similarly with Herz, if you use its second effect to make it level 5 after it's special summoned, then you wouldn't be able to go into Pleiades either, because you are also locked into machines if you use that second effect. So these are things that you should always be aware of, just in case you kind of make that misplay and accidentally cheat in a way by going into monsters that you can't. Alright, so now let's cover the Red Eyes Dragoon and Red Eyes Fusion rulings. So first, let's start with the basics. Red Eyes Fusion, if you were to hard draw this card and you activate it, then you can't summon any monsters that turn, compared to if you were to go through Verde Anaconda and you use its effect and copy the effect of Red Eyes Fusion, then you can, obviously you would have summoned other monsters and then go into this, and you can still summon out the Dragoon because you're just copying its effect and you didn't actually activate Red Eyes Fusion. Also, keep in mind that when you're using Anaconda to copy Red Eyes Fusion's effect, your opponent can't Ash you. And now Anaconda sends a spell for cost, so obviously you can't Ash that part, but even after sending for cost, your opponent still can't Ash, even though Red Eyes Fusion sends materials from the deck. And this has to do with card effects that copy other effects. So you would of course only be able to activate Ash in response to card activations or effects, but you can't activate it while an effect's already resolving. So in this instance, where Anaconda is copying Red Eyes Fusion, it only gains this effect of the fusion spell while the effect is resolving. And so since this effect is already in motion and past the training phase, it can't be ashed. Now it's a little confusing concept, so I'll just provide a link to the post in the description below, just so that you can have a better read for yourself, but just know that you just can't ash Anaconda when trying to copy Red Eyes Fusion or any other fusion cards for that matter. But of course you can still definitely get hit by generic effect negation cards like Imperm or Veiler, and then your Anaconda won't be able to resolve, but you would still have to send the Red Eyes Fusion to grave as cost. Also note that if you are using Red Eyes Fusion to summon out Dragoon, then you do have to use Red Eyes Black Dragon specifically, even though Dragoon lists or a dragon effect monster. And this is because since you're using Red Eyes Fusion to bring it out, the spell says to fusion summon a monster that lists a Red Eyes monster as material. If the fusion card says fusion summon a monster that lists a particular monster as material, then you have to actually use that said monster. In other words, even though Dragoon says also Dragon Effect monster, because you're using Red Eyes Fusion specifically to bring it out, then you have to actually use a Red Eyes monster. And then now, because Dragoon says specifically Red Eyes Black Dragon, you have to use this rather than any other Red Eyes monster like Wyvern or Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. And then lastly, Dragoon's effect to gain 1000 attack after negating and destroying a card activation or effect is a permanent attack boost, but because it specifically states that you have to negate and destroy, if you were to negate an effect that's activating in the grave or banish zone, then while it will negate it, Dragoon will not gain the attack boost because it did not destroy the card, since cards in the grave or banish zone cannot be destroyed. Alright guys, that's it for the second ruling segment video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to bring you more replay videos for Cyber Dragons with Dragoon, but I also have another analytical video in mind that I'd like to bring soon, so stay tuned for that one. And well, that's it for me. Take care.